Greetings, we are Ammo. We are here to set the stage, to give the when and where and what and who in the parlance of your age. We'll lay it all before you, feed you piece by piece, and then we will fade away for now, not giving you the how. For the joy of gifts is in unwrapping, or in the puzzle picture mapping, and later on our paths will not exactly cross, but may run parallel a time. And you can simply wave and say, "Dear Ammo, guide me onward, please." And we'll reply with grace and ease that it's our part to story mend, narration a lazy writer's friend. And we hope to sometime find a not too distant future where we have moved beyond our kind, our services unnecessary. But that's for then and there, not here. So let us get the setting clear. When are we? Well, let us see. Generations in the future, so far ahead, that where you sit and hear me, whether you're not working or maybe not quite off to bed, your time is like a mumble in a rainstorm to our story. The world you know has crumbled, and we have lost all memory of you. We destroyed it and dismissed it. Like that mumble in the rainstorm, it's hard to know if it existed. But as we know you humans prefer a straighter furrow plowed, we can safe assume that it's about 200 years from now. The world did not advance beyond the one you know as such. It wasn't given much a chance. And right here is where we touch on the who and what and where, our gig. The Great Lakes they were often called when humans could still think that big. The humans now? Don't be appalled. Think of your rhinos or your gorillas too, which only exist, and only barely, in certain small places made by you, preserves or parks, a sanctuary. It's here we find the human's fate, endangered and, for now, protected by intelligence you helped create, the mind, an AI prime, now self-directed. And so you humans persevere, standing at extinction's door, from famine, toxins, war, and fear, and one choice that might scare you more. And right here, Emma will desist. You'll have to join us for the story. We will not give away the twist, and you'll decide for yourself the allegory. For what's the adventure in us showing, if you know already where we're going? So come to attention, man the bell. It's your watch. Stand Sentinel.
Standing Sentinel, a story told over media. Chapter 1, Stasia, 9 days before. Episode 1. Once something is far enough in the past, it's impossible to know what's truth versus what people want to believe, would rather believe. Take that empty warehouse next to the hatchery, the looming hollow shell I just snuck through. I've heard people at the Merc whispering with eyebrows raised. They used to grow meat in there, you know. And I'm sure that's what they'd like to believe. To believe in a time when there was enough food to eat in the sanctuary, all the plates full, even in the crowded and cluster-smacked parts of Jenga. Growing meat. That's a nice thought. And maybe it's the truth, and maybe it's not. But it's worth a bucket of dead flies either way. That warehouse is just a wind tunnel of rusted metal and mostly shattered glass now. My mother and I? We have been in the sanctuary for 6 years, and the only meat I've had here is in the shallow hatchery pools right in front of me. Fish, farmed in a crowd every 4 months in cycles. Fish, rationed 2 per week if you're willing to wait in line, which, at the moment, I'm not. The hatchery pools throw the reflection of the moon fiercely enough that I don't bother to turn on the torch. And this early September chill is not what I'd prayed to Hermes for, god of thieves, on my capital E escape night. Though I guess it's to my favor. Even in the cold, the smell of the whole fishy place is tiptoeing on that thin fence between unpleasant and foul, like a sandwich you smell twice before throwing away. So I'll never know if Hermes didn't hear my prayer, or didn't answer it because he knew a warmer night would have been even nastier. Or, you know, he didn't answer because he doesn't exist. Apparently, the answer to how many fish can this mesh bag hold is 20. 10 chat and 10 tilapia, though I cleaned them first with this lovely shiny slim knife I stole from the Merc. How many of the 5,000 people in this silly walled-in village would even know how to clean a fish? They'd be disgusted. Having never seen anything but a uniform rectangular fillet at the depot, The new knife was even sharper than expected, and I threw the guts, but not all the guts, back into the circular shallow pools. The other fish darted immediately for the meal. No mourning for their fallen friends, just a focus on survival. Not all the guts, you ask? I put the livers in this small silver container, after I sprinkled a little salt on them, just enough to keep them from turning, and screwed on the metal lid. Oh, and the few smaller females I cleaned, I ate the roe right away, those eggs being dense in nutrients, and I'll need every gram that I can get. I'm leaving. Is that the truth? Or is that what I want to believe? Episode 2. Every single fish I steal is a meal taken off the plate of someone in the sanctuary. The sanctuary. What a deliciously ridiculous name. I don't remember much of arriving here when I was 9, but I do remember the look on my mother's face when she saw the auto-tillers working the farmland south of the main gate, and the soft aurora of the city lights drifting up behind the walls. I remember that look, of accomplishment and unburdening, wash over her face, right before somebody shoved my father to the ground and handcuffed him. Only one of those auto-tillers is still functional now, and the overhead path lights only work consistently in Keb, this hilltop area inside the walls where all the rich brats live. Anyway, about stealing a meal off someone's plate. I don't squander a third thought on it. These people are all dead anyway. The pops of the tilapia, as they try to catch bugs on the surface of the gleaming pools. The night is so mockingly still that it feels like the world's smallest screaming match. Ugh! Maybe a horsetail will keep this black mop of hair out of my face long enough to half run to the rear of the hatchery. Here's a trick. I'll wrap the mesh bag of fish in this old sheet and tie the top of it like so, in a knot around this slender metal pipe, cinching the knot right where this perpendicular connection juts out. I grabbed the sheet and some other stuff from a fancy Keb house I looted. A funny story. I'll tell it later. Bag plus stick? Called a bindle. At least, it wasn't one of the stories my mom used to tell me. May the gods of boxcars and barrel fires keep it safe. My pop used to tell me a story about some furry animals that lived hundreds of years ago called lemons. Apparently, they were ridiculous little fluff balls of idiocy. When they gathered in groups, sometimes they'd all swim out into the ocean, just following whoever was in the lead. Never thinking, never stopping to decide if they were swimming toward land or toward an eventual drowning. Mass suicide by foolishness. Now, is this the truth? Or what my pop would rather believe? I guess I'll never know, but the image of hundreds of mindless rodents all swimming away from shore, heading straight to their deaths, stuck with me either way. That's where I feel like I am now, in the sanctuary. Only the drowning here will require no swimming. It won't require any effort at all. The back of the bindle swings over like this. Rest the pipe on my shoulder, and I'm off to that outbuilding right there, tucked against the 12-meter-high wall that goes all the way around this whole stupid place. I have one last thing to steal. Episode 3. The third to last thing my father ever said to me was, "Nobody deserves to die as a fairy tale. A wobbly crutch for the weak and the foolish. The true story lies in who deserves to live." There isn't a person in all of Jenga or Keb who would dare call me weak. But given my current actions, I'd say the verdict on my foolishness is far from settled. Guess what? The outbuilding against the high sanctuary wall was unlocked, and I borrowed this lovely telescoping fish pole. Look, it even collapses down to the length of my arm. Of all the things I've stolen tonight, this might have been the easiest, but it was definitely the most satisfying. This fish pole is one of a trenta that the hatchery uses once a season so that kids can come and catch dinner, which the kept children always paid to do, and the poor kids from Jinga were allowed to do in exchange for half an hour of cleaning the hatchery, usually by either gathering fish poop, carrying fish poop, or disposing of fish poop. I came once with my mom the first year we were in the sanctuary, but scrubbing the gray, furry walls of the empty pools was so slippery and disgusting, I hadn't been back since. Until now. Oh, I have to take these other 2 bags off my back for a second. C'est mieux. See the giant red stitched leaf on the back of the sac of dough? I keep thinking it looks familiar. Oh, wow. I can feel the night chill fill my lungs, though the smell of the hatchery has disappeared, like my brain has closed a door on it. Okay. The cord. Oh, I'm back to the hand task now. I can feel my eyes adjust from the storage area's darkness to the bounce of the moon off the pools of low water between me and my way out. I guess I need to get my black goose jacket out of the sack of dough. I hadn't expected to need it tonight, or for a couple more weeks for that matter. This gray sack with the stupid little red leaf, this new blue shoulder bag so stiff, the bindle of fish and the pole. Seems like too much to take with me out beyond the walls, especially with one more pickup still waiting at my escape point. But I can't see how I can leave any of it behind. The unprepared can't be counted among the ones who deserve to live. What things do you carry when your life really and truly depends on them?
Episode 4. I've always heard the phrase take inventory, but tonight's the first time I've ever actually had enough stuff to do it. How do I feel? I'm a water oil mixture of elated and uneasy. I'm confident in everything I've gathered, but looking at this mountain of stuff in front of me, as the moonlight catches on their metal pieces, there's no way I'm putting all of this on my back. It's too much. Earlier tonight, fleas and mice, that seems like a long time ago already. Earlier tonight, I quietly busted the back door window at the Merc, a sharp nail to all 4 corners. Tick, 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 tick. Then pushed the glass in to reach the lock on the other side. The loot? A steel tech knife, blade as long as my hand, that I'd fancied for most of my 6 sanctuary years, but never dared to hope of owning. A hatchet. Got a nice weight to it, and thankfully has a blade guard. A recharge torch. Seems to be in good shape. I can't believe I found something with a solid solar battery that still functions. Though, it doesn't take much to turn light into light, I guess. C'est pas. We'll see how long the charge lasts. The depot had been even easier to get into. The door was unlocked. The loot? The blue shoulder bag, a change of tech gear. The only size I could find was moyen, though I've never had enough food to be medium-sized in anything but sarcastic remarks. What else? A therm hat, 2 pairs of socks, the first new boots I've ever owned, and a fire starter. At the depot, the Merc, and the egg-hole, the secure cams had all been off, just as they were here at the hatchery. I guess that part of the mind. What a stupid name for the city's control center, by the way. Though I can attest that people here can't seem to think for themselves. I guess that part of the mind had been disabled for a week? Más o menos. I feel like I'm taking folly pills. Nobody else seems to notice the signs of... I don't even know what they're signs of, because I can't imagine what comes next. Or maybe I can, but I don't want to. Nothing in the sanctuary, especially in the part of Lower Jinga where my mom and I grind and chafe out an existence, nothing seems to have enough resources to continue. Several of the teachers stopped showing up at the egg-hole, I heard. I stopped going months ago, as none of the learning pods had updated in weeks. I had to carry my mother to the hosp after another water filtration system failure had her puking up bile, and even she wouldn't listen to me, wouldn't believe me. Or maybe she chose not to believe me. It's probably easier for her that way. She can stay here with the rest of them. I'm doing it again, see? Every time I think of leaving her, my fingers start absent-mindedly tracing the thin outline of the perfect spiral-shaped scar on my forearm. Episode 5. The students gave up not long after the teachers did, of course, so the ACOL was easy to get into as well. It was mostly abandoned. And still, nobody sees any red flags. They just keep mindlessly moving forward. Or it feels like forward, because, absent of a destination, any direction can be forward. When I was out in the foul, beyond the wall as a kid, I remember sharing a fire with another traveler. My father always asked other rovers for a piece of advice for him to think about before bed. This rover, I remember her face so clearly. It must have been one of the last nights I spent outside the sanctuary. This tired-eyed woman, probably only a few years older than I am now, looked into the fire for a second, then didn't raise her eyes as she said, "Be careful if you can't spot the idiot in the room, because you're the only one who can't." Oh yeah, the school. I used the back of the hatchet I'd taken from the depot to bust the circle lock off the ACOL's alley door. I'd wrapped the lock in a couple of socks to keep the noise down. First swing. The supplies list for that stop was short, but I made sure to wink at the elephant god, that's Ganesha, when I found everything. Item 1. A now tightly rolled, hard copy map, the only one printed on soft plastic that I could remember seeing. It had been pinned to the wall next to the last learning pod. It only showed 250 kilometers in each direction from the sanctuary, but that was good enough for my purposes. Item 2. Bandages, cleaner, and scissors from what was left of the med kit in the WC. I had hoped that there'd be a needle and thread too, but hope is for deathbeds and soft heads. Item 3. A box of 4 Marie bars. Ugh, even the name makes me wince. They taste so foul that only the poorest of the kids at the ACOL would eat them during rationing. But I'd been one of those kids. I knew the protein in the Marie bars was better than the alternative, which was the screaming of an empty stomach. Item 4. I can't believe this one. A filter flask. Master Templeton had one he kept in his desk. Bragged about it all the time. But nobody had heard from him in 6 weeks. I had only seen a score of them in the sanctuary, as they hadn't been needed in 100 years. Well, until now. That woman at the fire, talking to my father, the yellow firelight dancing off her face. I've been thinking about her a lot lately. I wonder what my pop considered that night, and what it means for me right now. If no one else seems to notice that everything is falling to pieces, does that make me the idiot? Episode 6. On me. Navy blue tech gear, black jacket, knife and sheath on my tech belt, torch also on tech belt, socks and boots. Gray and red sacado, 2 sanis rolled together then stuffed in a sock. Mine, and one I found laying discarded on the floor of a keb house. Tiny gods, who has so much stuff that they have spare sanis? The rest of the city passes them down in their wills. Map, hatchet, another knife, longer, in a thin wood sheath, then wrapped in the matching sock to the one holding the precious sanis. Rain vest, tarp, rolled and wrapped in wire. It takes up most of the room, but I'd be crazy not to have cover. Toilet roll, brushes, tooth and hair. Filter flask, twist lock full of fish livers. Twist lock of sal. 2 empty twist locks. Blue shoulder bag. Gray tech gear, small steel pot with lid and spoon, tech gear stuffed inside. Therm hat, another pair of socks, new boots, fire starter, bandages, cleaner, scissors, 4 Marie bars, bindle with 20 fish, fishing pole. I'm leaving. Forever. On foot. Into a space these witless people in their sanctuary call the foul. The fringe area without laws. This, all this, plus what I have waiting for me at the escape point, it's too much. Well, we can start with these scuffed old boots I'm wearing. I'll just remove the laces. throw the boots and these tall weeds around the fish pools, and slide on these new ones from the blue bag, along with the other pair of socks. Might as well, right? A sincere apology to all the fat gods as I untie the bindle. May I not regret leaving it behind. In my mother's story I mentioned before, the bindle was a sign of weakness, an inability to look out for yourself. And I can't abide by that. Not where I'm going. Okay, these 8 tilapia into one of the sanis, tie it up with one of the old laces, and shove it into the void where the boots were. The other lace can fasten the fishing pole to the side strap of the saccado. That's still a lot of weight on my back with the 2 bags, even without the bindle. I'm off. My feet don't linger, but I can't stop staring at the dozen fish on the bunched-up sheet, keeping eye contact with the vacant stares of fish eyes, feeling the crawling sensation that they're whispering to me. My tech watch stopped working a span ago, and the moon's now lost behind a curtain of clouds. Still, I know if I'm going to make it to the escape point before sunrise, it's time to move. One more stop on the way, though. I need to say something like goodbye. Episode 7. I wonder which of these people will die first, and how. Sure, that's a twisted thing to think as I slip downhill through their houses on an unfamiliar path at the back of Keb, but it's fair return for every kindness I've never received from a single one of their lot. Oh, gotta get over to the shadow side, out of the path lights. I don't know this path, or these houses, or the rich idiots inside them. I need to get to Jinga, but I can't exactly stroll in a top hat down the footpath. Remember the house where I commandeered some stuff? That's the term my pop always used. It was from some eons old flat filmgram he loved as a boy. I thought it was a silly way to say stole, but he said it had a nice ring to it. That house. It's right off this path, and I have all the stuff I'd taken right here in the bags on my back. Even 200 meters away, I could hear the dunce of a dog barking. 2 days ago, I'd been wandering around Keb, looking for something without quite knowing what it was. The final piece of the plan, a lightning bolt to bust me out of here. It was warmer that evening, and as I walked, well, pretty much right here, but headed in the opposite direction. As I walked, a prim and trimmed woman with a neck tattoo and a brown tornado of fur walked out of what is easily the biggest house in the sanctuary. Her shoulder full of empty bags told me she wouldn't be home soon, either shopping or collecting or whatever these damnable Keb people do. Just as dusk was arriving, it was très easy to see that all the lights were off in the house. I kept walking, turned at the next corner, doubled back and snuck, into an east-facing side door. The handle opened. I looked both ways and walked in. I didn't know how long I'd have, so I didn't waste haste. After tearing my way through all of the first floor, except for one locked door to a back room, weird, I took 2 knives and 4 twist locks from the biggest kitchen I'd ever seen, larger than my entire Jenga flat, and wrapped them in a tattered red sheet I'd found in a closet that also contained a 2-strap saccado, the gray and red material comfortably worn in. It was empty, other than a rain vest, which I left in there as I stuffed in the blanket-wrapped goodies. Oh, yeah, I just remembered. As I was leaving the kitchen, I smashed the remote control for the Vizzy and filled the caffeine machine with what I assumed was dog food. Behind some grand, cushy piece of furniture that Jenga people like me don't have a word for, I found a sani just left on the floor. Unbelievable. In the WC, I flattened a toilet roll and stuck it in the bag, then threw the rest of the gray rolls into the tub and turned the water on. I thanked gods of all colors for a few other items I found in the woman's drawer, but I'll keep that between me and lock and key. I found a whole stack of paper, real, creamy, soft paper. I didn't need it, but, well, I had never held a sheet of it before, and after a thought, I did need one sheet. I picked up a few pieces, folded them up, and put them in my pocket. After 2 thoughts, I remembered my time as a kid in the fowl, and that the rest of the paper did have one very valuable use. So I shoved the whole stack into the hidden pocket in the back of the bag. Really well hidden, which is why I forgot to list paper when I took inventory earlier. I was headed for the stairs when I saw it, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that my knees almost unbuckled, its surface shimmering as only Sani material can. They must have been cleaning it or something, all puffed up in the middle of the room. Otherwise, I never would have realized what it was. The unknown thing I was looking for. The bolt of lightning that's currently waiting for me at the escape point. Mama, me don bonbon? Go spit! I swallowed my shriek as the voice came from upstairs, almost directly above me. He had his back to me, and I saw the same neck tattoo as the woman outside. Some sort of blue flower. I held my breath, grabbed the final piece of the plan, and slipped almost silently out the same way I came, laughing as I heard the tub in the bathroom start to overflow. Episode 8. It's easy to leave when you aren't leaving anything behind. Sure, it's a simple thought on these well-lit hills of Keb. I catch myself tracing the spiral scar with my F finger despite... the bag's tackling my back. And see this? Pretty much exactly halfway down the slope to Jinga, the steady path lights switched to a flickering fight against the now clouded darkness. Spooky? Maybe, for some of the soft heads in Keb. Memories of my time outside the sanctuary are fractured and warped, but still, I recall that there are things more frightening than the shadows of slumbering houses and the silence of amplified darkness. Nothing will hurt me inside these high walls. There's been no violence for like 100 years. Nothing to fear here. Not yet, anyway. See how from inside the walls the sanctuary looks like a giant's boot? The hatchery, up there, had been at the rear of the boot. The wall like the back lip where you slide your heel in. Down, down through Keb, the tall ankle bone. A green ankle, of course, as Keb is the only place inside the walls that still has trees. And here I am, weaving through the laces of the footpaths that lead down there, to the unsightly and smashed-together toes of Jinga, bunched up and bulging at the lake's edge. Except for that big toe of a cliff poking up next to the water. Yeah, it's hard to see now, completely covered in the slime and earthy tangle of vines grown, rotted, and overgrown again for decades. But remember what it looks like from here. We'll see it again. Gods of destruction! Here comes the wind. You can hear it whipping up the road between the toes before it turns this corner. Ugh, that smell! I always thought that Jinga was all bunched up against the lake shore downhill from the luxurious houses of Keb because, at some point as a little girl, I heard that it was important to have the higher ground, and so the rich brats took it. I found out recently, though, that I was wrong. Keb was on the hill, far away from the water, because the lake is where the sewer lines run. It didn't used to be such a big deal, except on days when the wind was just wrong. But a few months ago, the treatment AI stopped working, and now, instead of twice-treated water coming out of the pipes in the wall at the shore, now every toilet that flushes up the hill runs down and straight out. No choice but to lean into this wind. I only need to make it to the fourth door on this side of the street. Of course, I look through the black bars on the window, even though I know it's too dark to see anything, but hardy habits hold, eh? If I twist the handle just like this, as I swipe my identicard, the auto spring won't make any noise as I open it. As usual, I have to feel my way through the small-hour darkness. I don't write any words on the ecropad of the fridge. I only draw a single inner swirling line. Anything else will get uploaded to the mind or seen by someone, and I don't want to make whatever is about to happen here any harder for my mother. It's just 4 steps to the other side of the room. My blind fingers easily find the repeating pattern carved into the wood wall above my bedroll. In our first year here, my mother had taught me to carve this pattern, and taught me what it meant. There, the second shape, that matches what I'd drawn on the ecropad. Just have to hit it with the meat side of my fist. Pop! Out comes this small drawer. I can't help but crinkle the piece of folded paper a bit before I put it in. After I slide the hidden drawer shut, I make my way out of the flat this very last time. I brush my fingers over the deep, careful grooves knifed into the wall by a little girl who already left long ago. Episode 9. It doesn't seem like anyone is in charge of anything. I guess I'll just skirt around these mounds of trash that haven't been picked up in 3 weeks. No need to seek the shadows. None of the path lights work down here in the lowest scramble of Jenga anyway. It'll be a low game of limbo to get the bags on my back through this busted front window. Ah! But now in this abandoned store? There we go. I can switch on the torch. At the Acol, the other kids used to play a game, Soul in Lave, stepping on anything but the ground, which they pretended was covered in fire. I always imagined them roasting anyway, slowly cooking as they jumped from cushion to chair. Now I play my own game of Soul in Lave, hopping carefully toward the back door of what was probably some sort of depot a dozen years ago, trying to get there without stepping on a floor coated in, some rancid mixture of spilled oil, dust, and rat crap. I had arranged display stands, tables, and piles of poured sand through the mangled innards of the store. Despite the practice, I still measure every step, calculate every jump. It might as well be lava around me. The feeble hinges of the back door hold for one more opening, my last, and I can finally take a full breath in this slim strip of alley, and I trace the torchlight up the grooves and indentations of the cliff wall, its blue surface now radiating the chill in the air. I throw off the gray sacado and place my new boot into the first foothold. It's nearly 20 meters to the top. The big toe I mentioned before, sticking up at the edge of the lake. I've climbed it almost every night for the last month. I can't make it up with both bags, so tonight I climb it twice. And when I finally crawl up with the second bag and sprawl exhausted, something circles me back to the memory of a discarded bindle of fish. Maybe I was right to leave it behind. All right, that's enough. My breath is caught. Sit up. On this towering outpost overlooking the lake, clearly built as if once upon a time there had been a call to patrol the water for any unfriendly activities. Instead, there hadn't been any activity at all, for long enough that the tower is now like this, draped almost to the point of strangulation with vine. Gods of broken clocks. How long had it been? Look down here, on the north side of the big toe, opposite Jenga. This wicked hill, not quite a precipice, that backs up to the cliff before fading down to the lake's winding edge. Someone had fortified the hill with every sharp thing that could be found. Rusted speeder hoods welded together at ghastly angles, broken glass, razor wire, a post-apocalyptic briar patch that even the craziest Brer Rabbit wouldn't dare jump into. But under the vines on top of this cliff, I found something. A trap door. It took me the fair fight of 10 nights, a whole span, to clear the door and figure out how to open it. The access hatch to the electronic controls had been buried a couple meters away, under 10 centim of dead plant salad. But once I found it, the rest was, as my pop would say, gâteau fâteau. According to him, all tronics were a maze to trace. All you had to do was find the path, and he had shown me how. The first time I opened the trap door, I was shook by the sight of an almost perfectly round, narrow tunnel, leading down through the granite to the other side of the twisted nightmare hill, ending in a hidden cave right by the lake's edge, with so little clearance between the cave's overhang and the water's surface that I would have to hold my breath to get out. And that had been the hardest part of this whole great escape. What to do once I was in the lake. It's not like I could bring a boat, even if I had one. The bags barely fit down with me, one at a time, through the pinched tube, and I leave them with the telescoping adamant tubes and the deflated Sani Matala, which I left in the cave yesterday. And then I spidered my way back to the top. I can't help but walk out to the edge of the toe, standing sentinel one last time above the ragged web of jingle lights to the south and flat plain of the lake stretching to the west. At my back I can feel the first fingers of a purple dawn rising behind Keb. I will just disappear. No cameras, no gate pass, no search team, just poof. A cloud of smoke. a memory. When you read this, I've already gone. I'm leaving this place where I never belonged. You're on your own, the one left behind. Don't hold your breath for me to change my mind. Though I don't know how, I guess I'll try. I need to say something like goodbye. I tried to help, but you were never the same. You lost it all and stopped playing the game. That wasn't fair of you to put on a girl who couldn't understand with only 8 years in the world. You gave up and I never knew why. So I need to say something like goodbye. We were never welcome here. All their loyalties were clear. So I learned to persevere, always pushing back the fear of somehow finding out the cruel side's the one more real. Why am I the only one who sees where we are? This place is falling apart, but it ain't breaking my heart. You're all lemmings, all led to the sea. Go ahead and swim away, but you're not taking me. If I stay here, then I know I'll die. But I need to say something like goodbye. I'm on my way now, destination unknown. I'll forge my way away, a new creation alone. I see no other choices but to sack up and leave, whether that's the truth or what I want to believe. I'm finding pop and need no reply. So I'll leave you with something like goodbye.